So in this segment, we're going to be talking about the rise in self-harming amongst young people and children as well, which is terrifying. To be fair, it's pretty scary stuff. So the pandemic has had a deep impact on children who are arriving in A&E in greater numbers and at younger ages after self-harming or taking overdoses. Writes Dr. John Wright of Bradford Infirmary. So children are a lost tribe in the pandemic. While they remain for the most part perplexingly immune to the health consequences of COVID-19, their lives and daily routines have been turned upside down. From surveys and interviews carried out for the Born in Bradford study, we know that they are anxious, isolated and bored, and we see the tip of this iceberg of mental ill health in the hospital. Children in mental health crisis used to be brought to A&E about twice a week. Since the summer, it's been more like once or twice a day. Some as young as 10 have cut themselves, taken overdoses, or tried to asphyxiate themselves. There has even been one child aged 8. Lockdown massively exacerbates any pre-existing mental health issues, fears, anxieties, feelings of disconnection and isolation, says A&E consultant David Greenhorn. While Bradford has been in lockdown longer than some other parts of the country, there is no reason to believe this is a local problem. Dave says fellow A&E consultants he's spoken to in Scotland, Portsmouth and Northern Ireland all report a significant increase in mental health attendances among all age groups, as children as well as adults. So what we can see here is that there are a lot more children doing things like self-harming and overdoses and things like that because of the mental health impact of the lockdowns. And there are people who are anti-lockdown to protect children and to protect their mental health and things like that. It's difficult in the sense of, it's either we don't go into lockdowns and you let children go to school, they might catch COVID. We don't know the impact of long COVID, but you kind of save their mental health slightly. But at the same time, if you follow that strategy, then you're going to have a lot of these children have their relatives die. Some of their parents may be older, some of their grandparents will definitely be older. So what would the impact on their mental health be if their family members are dead or sick? What's the impact on their mental health going to be? It's tough, and I don't know what the answer, especially in the winter. It's very hard to go outside and do stuff, and so there is no good answer for this apart from dealing with the virus in a more earlier way, as in going into lockdowns earlier. It's tough. It's very tough. This situation we're in now, and sacrificing the future of children is not a good answer. In all honesty, not a good answer. Self-harming used to be the mindset of older teenagers, but we are seeing much younger children doing this, says Ruth Tolley, a matron on the pediatrician. No, I can't read that word. This ward. My bad. Where children are taken if it is not safe for them to return home. It may then take the combined efforts of several nurses to prevent further self-harm on the ward. Eating disorders are also on the rise, says paediatrician Helen Jepp. So are overdoses, where children take their parents' medication or their own, and cases where children rush out of the house and behave recklessly or dangerously on the street. And you can see these lockdowns are having huge impacts on the mental health of children. A child psychiatrist who works with Bradford's Children Adolescent Mental Health Services says the caseload fell at the start of the pandemic and then returned to normal levels. For him, what's new is not the quantity but the severity of the work. We have been seeing more intensive distress. He says young people are in a worse state than usual, and so Bradford being in lockdown longer, making it harder for people to go outside because of the weather. I think that's one of the reasons why a lot of people made it through the summer lockdown, was because that you could go outside still. You could still go on a walk, but it's more difficult in the winter, and it's very hard to advocate for people to go outside and go for a walk and stuff when it's very cold and you risk catching a cold. So it's tough, especially if you live in a flat without places without gardens. Consultant David Greenhorn describes a recent evening in A&E. It's a busy one. There are 94 people in the department, including a pale-looking teenage boy lying quietly in a cubicle. Dave asks if he's okay, but there's no answer, no eye contact. The notes show that the boy has attended the emergency department every other day for 2 weeks, but now he has taken small overdoses and told staff he wants to die. He has a child and adolescent psychiatrist and support worker, but there is no firm diagnosis of mental illness. One of the problems is that the lockdown has prevented anyone from accessing their own safety valves. The boy has previously mentioned that he misses going out with his friends. Now he's stuck at home, and so are other members of his family. Unable to get away for a few hours, the mum says she's at the end of her tether and can't deal with her son at home on this particular night. So you can see this family's having a full-on breakdown. It's not just because of the lockdown, but the lockdown may be a key part of it. Dave attempts to coax the young boy to talk. To him. Dave's attempts to talk to him, the boy, aren't successful, so he makes sure the youngster has some juice and a sandwich and asks the nurses to keep an eye on him and engage him when they have a minute, although they rarely do because they're very busy. On previous admissions to the pediatric ward, the boy has been hard to look after, so it's been agreed he shouldn't be sent there, but he doesn't want to go to an adult ward. In the end, he spends the night in A&E, so you can see this boy he has a lot of issues and a lot of mental health problems, and the medical professionals are struggling to deal with him, and obviously who knows what's going on inside his mind. I doubt he knows. He's a child, and they don't want to leave him on his own because it's dangerous, and so he kind of has nowhere to go. I think things sound like they're breaking down at home, and so maybe he doesn't want to go back home. He's 10 and he wants to die. Like I don't know how to understand that, if that makes sense. The pandemic has underlined for all to see just how important school is for children. Education is only part of it. There is also the social life, and children benefit from routine, boundaries, and adult authority figures outside the home. Teachers are also experts at spotting problems such as anxiety and self-harm that has taken place at home. A lot of referrals would normally arise in this way, so seeing the signs of anxiety and minor bits of self-harm mean that teachers can intervene earlier on. But then because they can't do that, perhaps some parents aren't noticing these signs, or maybe don't care, and therefore the problems spiral and get worse. For older students, school is the framework that will enable them to reach university or employment, and some struggle when it appears to give way. Seema, not her real name, attempted suicide and started self-harming when exams were cancelled last summer. We tried very hard for our exams. You're taught your entire future revolves around these exams, which is true, they do tell you that. But that crumbles right in front of you, and it's really shocking. It has a huge impact. I felt like stabbing myself. I was in a constant state of anxiety, and you've got to think that if you're told your future is dependent on these exams, and you study hard and things like that, and you find out your exams are cancelled and maybe you didn't get the grades you thought you would get, your life would crumble around you. Now 17, she's doing a lot better, though she still misses contact with her teachers and friends, and would like schools to organise online groups for students to socialise and not just meet for lessons. I think that's a good idea. I think that's a great idea. Just to sort of something like that out would be smart. Even if you can't do that, parents, get their friends to talk to each other, their kids' friends to talk to each other through, WhatsApp or whatever medium they want to use. Her family hasn't been able to understand her problem, but she has now been getting help. Professor John Wright, a doctor and epidemiologist, is head of Bradford Institute for Health Research and a veteran of cholera, HIV and Ebola epidemics in sub-Saharan Africa. He is writing this diary for BBC News and recording from the hospital wards for BBC Radio. So one crucial beneficial change that has come out of this epidemic of mental ill health is that professionals from all different agencies in Bradford have come together to support the children in their time of crisis. Gone are the delays in referrals between teams. The health service and social services are acting as one. COVID has brought services closer together, says pediatric, I don't know how to pronounce that word, I'm sorry, ward matron Ruth Tolley. We needed an urgent meeting with the safeguarding team and various other agencies, and we were able to pull that meeting together in 2 hours, getting people together and getting a plan that is really positive. So you can see the only benefit that's come out of this situation is that teams are working together far more closely, and therefore they can get to solutions quicker. Pediatrician Helen Jeps agrees. She got a call about a teenager one morning, logged on and saw that a number of teams were already discussing the case. Social workers and CAMES, I'm not sure, there was an acronym for that earlier, and voluntary organisations. It feels like a real privilege at the moment to have such close contact, she says, but this is a consolation for the damage being done to children's lives. The past 10 months of lockdown and school closures may have seemed unending for parents, but for a 10-year-old, it will have felt like a lifetime. Their youth is being stolen from them, which I 100% agree with. If you know, if there is, this is the only benefit, that teams are working closer together to get to solutions, then at least something decent has come out of this whole situation. But at the same time, you can see children's lives are being taken away, their ability to socialise and things like that. There are things you can kind of do to alleviate, the lack of social contact, but the internet isn't a substitute for talking to someone face to face. It just doesn't. It's not the same, and I think a lot of people have realised that as well. But you can see here that children are struggling. It's not just from education, but also children's mental health is declining heavily. And once this pandemic is over, the government needs to invest a lot of money into mental health, because if these children live with these problems, it's going to cause them much more problems later on. And so by investing in mental health services now for younger people and for everyone in general, it's going to help out a lot. But in this case, it's tough, especially if you're, if both your parents don't live together, or if you're an only child, or you only have one of the siblings. I could imagine how difficult it'd be to grow up like that, not being able to see any of your relatives, not being able to see your friends. It must be difficult. So hopefully this lockdown ends soon when it's safe, and children can go out and socialise with each other and do whatever stupid stuff kids do nowadays. No Tide Pods though. They're dangerous. But anyways, I'm going to leave it there. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one.